Hey everyone, Melanie Nelson here. We are on the fourth installment of the 3 fears that prevent us from moving forward, doing what we want to be doing, could be doing, should be doing, know we can do but aren't doing because we are either, we've talked about the fear of success and how that manifests itself in really sneaky ways. The fear of failure and how that shows up as perfectionism and paralysis by analysis. And we talked about fears in general as well. But the one we're going to talk about today is really obvious. It doesn't really show up in sneaky ways. Maybe it shows up as excuses and procrastination and justifications just like the other ones do. However, I think it's obvious that everyone on the planet to some degree has a fear of what others might think. Now, this fear, I don't think ever fully goes away completely. So in order to reach our goals and dreams, which is outside of our comfort zone, to create something we don't currently have in our life, whether it's our ideal weight or a new business venture or an increase in our income, we have to step outside of our comfort zone. We absolutely have to do things differently, which is going to create social consequences within our circle. So we're going to have to face this fear inevitably every day we take steps towards something we don't currently have. So this fear will actually stop people constantly from taking action because of their fear of what other people will think. So this actually kills success before you even achieve it. You know, if you have a fear of success, oftentimes you can create success and then you'll self-sabotage that success. You'll find a way to get rid of it because your belief system around success is not congruent with the success you created. So you get rid of the success rather than changing the belief system, right? But this particular fear will actually stop you from ever even creating any kind of success. Now there is people in the world, yes, we all have a few friends like family members like this who love to stand out, right? They don't mind being different. In fact, they kind of want to be different. They want to stand out, and that's fantastic and super cool and awesome. And then there's people who absolutely do not want to stand out, right? They want to blend in. They don't care to be the life of the party. They don't want to have attention put on them. They don't want to speak in front of people. These people are often a victim of this fear of what other people will think. So oftentimes when we do go towards something, or we say, hey, we set a goal to start a new business or increase our income or lose weight or whatever the case might be, we think that the people around us, our family and friends, well, we think, gosh, they should just be cheerleaders. And what they end up being oftentimes is downers. And that can create a scenario where you take a serious step back from your goals and dreams because someone poo-pooed your goals and dreams. Someone told you to get a real job or go back to school, or you know, they're upset because you're not eating cake or drinking beer with them anymore, right? And so when you create social change and change your habits, it affects the people around you. And if the people around you don't want to change, they get kind of scared. It's all subconscious. They don't know they're doing it, but they get scared, and they might just kind of Debbie down on your direction. And if that affects you in a negative way, you are not going to take those steps forward. So for me, I always used it in the opposite way. So as soon as someone Debbie downed me, I'm like, I'm going to show them. It gave me fuel. It gave me energy. It gave me motivation to like want it more. And I used to have this magnet on my fridge that said success was the best revenge. And I know that's not the most enlightened thing. And I know proving anything is not necessarily the most enlightened routes either. But rather than let it discourage me, I let it fuel me. And I feel like that there is more positive that came out of that than negative, okay? So I'm just going to invite you to reframe that and use it as fuel, as energy. Anytime somebody tells you you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or you're never gonna make it, or whatever the ridiculousness that people do, that doesn't encourage your new direction, understand that for them it's their subconscious fears, and that you have the vision, and it's in your heart to do. It's not in their heart to do. It's not their vision. You've got to live your life. And I'm going to tell a story about that here shortly. Now, where this fear becomes an absolute issue for people is when what other people think means absolutely everything. Okay, when it means everything, that means you are making decisions about your wardrobe, your hair, how you raise your children, where you live, what career you chose, why you went to the school you went to, because of what other people think. You're pleasing your parents. Some people are absolute people pleasers, or what other people think is so important to them they can't even leave the house without makeup. And so this is where I believe this fear becomes so debilitating in life. In fact, that over time, you'd become a very unhappy, resentful person because you've lived your whole life based on other people's either approval, validation, or belief systems. And that is a very dangerous thing to do, because what's in your heart is unique to you. It is a God-given gift. However, when you're living your life based on other people's terms, you will become miserable and resentful. And I believe that there's a perfect story for this. And it's not my story. It comes from an incredible mentor of mine, J.R. Reidinger, who's an incredible business person, huge success, mentor to many. And I'm sure somebody told him this story too. And so, your time comes and you're called to the pearly gates. It's the end of your days. And you get there and you go, hold on a second, I'm not done. Let me see if I can find somebody who can take my place. So St. Peter lets you go back down, and you go to your friends and family who have been absolutely you've been living your whole life based on their terms. Your friends, your family, what they think. How you should have raised your kids, what career you should have chose. Like, every decision has been based on what these people thought. And you go to them and you say, oh my gosh, I have so much more to do. I realized this when I was at the pearly gates, that I need to live my life on my terms. And there's a mission and a vision and a purpose inside of me that's greater than what all, that's unique to me. And I need to achieve that. I need to go for that. So since I've been living my life based on your terms, will you take my place? And you go to your Uncle Bob or your mom or your dad, you go to all your friends and family. Is anyone going to take your place? No. They're not going to take your place. So if they're not going to die for you, why are you letting them live for you? They don't pay your bills. They don't have to sleep in your skin. They don't have to live your life. Don't let them live for you. So we have a great affirmation for this fear. I am confident in myself and my direction. I am confident in myself and my direction. So if fear of what your friends or your family are going to think of your changing your routine, your habits, your career, a new business, that is a fantastic affirmation, because the truth is, you have a reason. There's a reason something has called to you to do. And you don't necessarily always have to understand what that reason is. You don't always have to fully comprehend the reason why behind what you are called to do, what is in your heart to do, be, or have. I think that understanding deepens as you move towards what you want to do, who you want to be, what you want to have, and you will find your reason why. And I find that the reason why you're called to do something evolves as you get older, as your life changes, as circumstances change. And so don't necessarily be so attached to why you've been called to do something, only that it's in your heart to do, which means that's reason enough, meaning that's coming from something greater than yourself, and that it's going to take some courage to follow that. So remember, when you have these fears come up, any of these fears, but especially this one, because I feel like nobody ever fully gets rid of it, you just keep facing it to the point where you just don't care nearly as much. And here my rocket dog is making a cameo in the video here on my picnic table. And because he doesn't really care what I think, he just kind of does whatever he wants. And so you know, those excuses and the justifications and the procrastinations around why you're not doing what you want to do, what's in your heart to do, is really any one of these three fears manifested in some logical excuse that you're believing, or at least you were believing up until now. So the key is to act in spite of these fears, meaning in actual practice in life. This means that you would act in spite of not feeling like doing it, act in spite of feeling busy, act in spite of feeling like you don't know enough, act in spite of being uncomfortable, act in spite of discomfort. Right, baby? And so when you do that, you will build your self-confidence. It's like a muscle. Every time you face a fear, every time you act in spite of discomfort or inconvenience, you build self-confidence. You build self-love. You are the captain of your ship. You've got to love yourself, flaws and all. We have a word I use quite often, flossom. You're flawsome. I'm flawsome. You know, that means you know you're awesome despite your flaws and all. And so every time a reasonable excuse comes up why you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, have the courage to re-examine that. Have the courage to call a mentor up and say, hey, I can feel myself trying to get out of this thing or this action or going to the gym or eating better or I really want to have this piece of cake or whatever the thing is that you're either doing or not doing to sabotage your movement forward. Call someone who can be honest with you and help you stay accountable. This is where a coach or a mentor or an accountability group or a mastermind group comes in so handy, because left to our own devices, even this girl, who I feel I'm super disciplined, will fall off the wagon. We make promises to ourselves all the time we don't keep. And that only deflates the trust bank within ourselves. It deflates the confidence bank. And we instead want to inflate that. We want to fill it up. And so don't try to be a lone wolf. Don't try to do it all on your own and get to the top of the mountain by yourself. It's a team effort. So have a mentor, have a coach, have a mastermind group, have an accountability group. If you don't have one, make one, create one. I know when I first started out, and everything that I've achieved to this day, it was just a pipe dream. It was on a dream board. It was on my goal statement. It was in my affirmations. And I was living in my mom's basement, and I was looking at them every day going, that's what's gonna happen, right? I mean, when I was doing that, I created a whole new circle of people that were encouraging my direction, not discouraging my direction. So those are some real tangible action steps that you can take to make sure that you're headed in the right direction, that you're moving towards your goals. Because the truth is you're either growing or you're dying. There is no stagnation, there is no plateau. It doesn't exist in nature. If it did, it would be like half a second, because you are either growing or you're dying. And so I encourage you to continue to grow, and I just wish you all the best, all the blessings and abundance and happiness and fulfillment as you move towards what's in your heart to do. And with that said, I'm sure I'll see you on another video. Take care for now.